and also chair at Father Bill's in MainSpring. I'm honored to be opening this event today. As the leader of a real estate company dedicated to helping people achieve their housing dreams, I'm humbled to be a part of today's celebration with an organization that continues to provide forward-thinking solutions to end homelessness. This amazing project in Brockton is the culmination of many years of hard work and dedication from our generous supporters, donors, local businesses, the community, and the very hard-working staff here at Father Bill's in MainSpring. The Smith Family HRC and Yonke Hall are definitely beautiful buildings, but there's so much more than that. They're an example of how great things can happen when people work together. Each project like this, and it's amazing to think we've had 2 of these in 2 years, starts as a dream and the next solution for homelessness. And today we're blessed to be able to see it come to fruition. It's exciting to think about how much this new home will help people. On behalf of the Board of Directors, I want to thank you for being here today to celebrate with us. Now it's my pleasure to introduce John Yaswinski, the CEO of Father Bill's in MainSpring, and a tireless advocate for our organization and a visionary behind the group's mission to end homelessness.
Thank you, Al. And thank you to all of our board of directors that are here today. You know, we started talking about ending homelessness very early on in the days at Father Bill's at MainSpring. And we've been committed to that housing strategy. But over the last 10 or 15 years, we really looked at what's best practices to end homelessness so people never experience it. And we've had a new delivery model that you will see in these buildings and at our Yonke Housing Resource Center in Quincy. We'll talk more about it. But thank you to our board of directors for believing in a new model, believing in solutions. Thank you. You know, I've had the privilege of working closely with the CFO of Brockton for a variety of funding sources, especially the great ARPA money that came to the city. But I've known Troy for many years, Troy Clarkson, and you would think when you're talking to a CFO, it's usually about finances. But I've really appreciated with Troy, knowing that Troy and I always talk about the people we assist, our most vulnerable people. And even times when Father Bill's in MainSpring has some tough days. Tough days when it's cold, tough days when maybe we lose somebody outside, or tough days just when people are speaking ill of the people that we serve. And I get text messages and emails of thoughts of prayer and hope, and a lot of times it's people like Troy that are doing it. Thank you, Troy, for your friendship. And we're really excited, because I don't know if everybody, but I know a lot of the crowd here knows your talent in singing. So thank you for all your support of our mission, but thank you for singing the national anthem today. Troy Clarkson.
But I also stand before you as someone who has experienced homelessness. I have the profound blessing of being in long-term recovery, but I did not coast into recovery on the wings of victory. And part of that journey was sleeping in my car, staying in the woods, and not knowing where my next meal or my next warm bed would be. So this place, this organization, is very special to me as a person. And the work that John and his board and his team are doing will not only impact lives, it will save lives. So I am just so grateful to share this tribute to our great nation with all of you, and would ask that you join me in honoring our great nation with the national anthem. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, see does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Thanks, Troy. Well, you know, only Father Bill's in MainSpring would look at having a ribbon cutting and a dedication to this building on the coldest Arctic week we had here. But you know what? Father Bill McCarthy's always taking care of the weather for all of our events, and Father Bill is still taking care of us today. Today we honor the vision and leadership of our founders. Today we have two of our founders that are with us. Pastor Wismar, one of the founders of Father Bill's Place in Quincy. And in Brockton, of course, everybody's known about the MainSpring House. The founders of the MainSpring House laid the foundation for so much of the work that we do. Patty Conway, Marie Sheehan, were two of the women of many others involved that back in the early 80s in Brockton started to see people not just need a blanket or need food tonight, but didn't have a place to sleep. They were instrumental in creating this coalition that we have today. Marie's memory and contributions continue to inspire us, and we are deeply grateful for Patty's continued support and presence here today. You know, I've always, since the first days I came to Father Bill's in MainSpring, talked to the founders to really remember why we do this, what we should focus on. And through the years, I've been able to sit with Patty and with Jack. She knew, her and Marie knew to go to Jack if they wanted to get some real estate. And Patty and Jack, of course, with their tremendous family, wrapped their arms around our mission here. Patty and Marie's work is a reflection of the collaborative spirit that has always driven our work. It's a reminder that these accomplishments are never about one person, but it's about a community coming together to create meaningful change. Patty will be helping us today memorize this special occasion by cutting the ribbon after the speeches. This act not only honors our shared history, but also symbolizes the incredible future we are building together for those in need in our community. I would ask that Carol Bowman, Patty's daughter, come up and say a few words. Now, Carol and her husband Mike, of course, and their children are continuing to fight the fight. Carol and Mike are part of our leadership cabinet that helped us raise the money that we've been able to do, both in Quincy, now in Brockton. So thank you, Carol. Thank you, Patty. Thank you, Mike, and all the family that is here. And we'll ask her to say a few words, and then afterwards, we'd love to have Patty come up with a picture. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. This is such a special occasion, and I want to start out by congratulating John and his amazing team that made this happen. But as John said, this takes a community. And what I know is that every single person sitting in this room and beyond made this happen today. So I congratulate you all. This was just an incredible experience for my mom and I to enjoy a tour of the finished product with Katie just now. And we should all be very proud of the people's lives that we will be changing. So congratulations to everyone. So on behalf of my mom, Pat Conway, as well as my late father, Jack Conway, my husband Mike, my daughter Corey, and my son Michael, who are here with us today, we want to congratulate you, but also we feel so honored to be part of this process. My mom and I drove over here, a little while ago. We had a chance to reflect on the beginnings of this mission. And my mother and Marie Sheehan and a coalition of people that wanted to make a difference got together many years ago. And as John said, wanted to do more than just provide a blanket. They wanted to provide solutions. A roof over a person's head, a meal in their stomach. And that's what they did. And they were just amazing, amazing people. They did this with fierceness, hard work, incredible passion for making a difference for people that may not have what we have. My mom and my dad, and I'm very fortunate to be part of the Jack Conway Company, continue in my father's legacy, but we provide an opportunity for people to either purchase a home or rent a home. And what we know is not everybody has that chance, but they might have that chance in 5 years or 10 years if given that opportunity. And to be part of that is so, so very important to all of us. My mother, as John said, was very involved in the founding of this organization. And one day she came home from her work at MainSpring, and she came to MainSpring every single day and served the community. And she shared with Dad that the MainSpring house had a mortgage of $50,000 that needed to be paid off. Now, $50,000 back then might as well have been $50 million today. And it was just this huge thing that was hanging over their heads. And so she asked my dad for a little help. And my dad agreed to help pay off that mortgage. And what was interesting about what my dad did is he went around to all the businesses and the communities and the people of Brockton and beyond and asked for no more than $1,000. He said $1,000 will make a difference. They weren't looking for large amounts, but if all of us, everybody contributed to making a difference, that mortgage would be paid off, and it was. And it was an incredible, yeah. So I think about now, many, many years later, we stand here in front of this incredible HRC, Housing Resource Center. And it wasn't just one person that made the difference. Yes, we need an incredible leader like John, but it was a lot of different actions, a lot of different contributions, a lot of different steps that made it happen. And it really is truly inspiring. We're so thrilled as a family and as an organization. I want to thank Al Becker for giving his time as chair of the organization. But we're so thrilled to be part of this because this honors the people of our community, not only for the past experiences and struggles that people have had, but the struggles of today and the struggles of tomorrow. So thank you, John, the entire community here at Father Bill's MainSpring for offering solutions and hope.
Patty, we love you so much. Thank you for your courageousness in helping establish this mission years ago. Thank you. before we hear from our public officials and project supporters, it's important we highlight what our mission in this new building is all about. Helping people who are facing a housing crisis. We're excited Kim Gibbons and her family are here to join us. As Kim will tell you, she fell on hard times. Thanks to her hard work and the efforts of our program staff, Kim moved into her own apartment. She's been there for a few years now, and it's my pleasure and honor to introduce Kim Gibbons.
Good morning, everyone. I came here today to give you some insight on how easy it is to become homeless these days. Like most of you, I had a full-time job, a car, apartment, friends, family, the works. And after something as silly as needing some work done on my car, that was all it took to make the house of cards that was my life begin to fall. Without a car, I virtually had no chance to make it to work every day, and as you can imagine, I lost it. Within months, I had no other option than to seek some help from MainSpring. A few months into staying there, it was really exhausting trying to find a job while homeless. You just don't have the clothes, nor the ambition to even put the smiling face on. One summer, I decided maybe give it a shot camping outside, and you know, I done it before, now I gotta do it for a living. Before I knew it, 3 years has passed. I went from a tent to a homemade shed, and ultimately ending with a little camper and a generator. After dealing with some substance abuse issues and some difficult times, I was faced with the hardest thing I would deal with since the sudden passing of my father when I was 17. My boyfriend of 8 years also suddenly passed. Although I was still grieving, I had to focus on not freezing to death out there. Luckily, I did have, like I said, a generator, and it was as comfortable as you can get when you're outside. Throughout the time we were there, Father Bill's continued to visit probably every few weeks, bringing clothes, blankets, really anything we needed or anything we asked for. One Thanksgiving, they actually brought 10 to 12 of us that were out there hot Thanksgiving dinners. And then one day, Father Bill showed up and told us that the land we were staying on was going to be going under construction. Unexpectedly, Father Bill offered to get us housing. Obviously aware of the extraordinary opportunity this was, I of course jumped on the offer. 1 month later, I was in my own apartment in Brockton with an adorable backyard patio for gardening. I can't believe the amazing gift Father Bill's has given to me. I have been through some really traumatic times in my life, and to have them looking out for me was 100% a blessing from God. And I'm hardly a religious person, but I learned to have faith once I was given the ultimate gift a homeless person can ask for, a place of their own. Thank you for everything you guys have done for me. A few years ago, I couldn't have imagined myself being here, and I couldn't have done it without you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Kim. Thank you for sharing your story. We know how hard that really is. You see, people are trying to divide us right now and blaming people with punitive measures or discrimination. We here at Father Bill's in MainSpring, in our community here in this room and in the greater Brockton area, we respond with projects like this. We respond with compassion and with love, and we respond with best practices and solutions. With that, we have been absolutely blessed with political will in this community. This was federal land they put out to bid. And of course, we weren't the only ones interested in this land. But we were able to communicate with the mayor directly, with county officials. We were able to then get the political will of the local community, our United States senators, the delegation that's here, and we were able to get the bid, win the bid for this land called a Title V property from the federal government for this project here. Father Bill's in MainSpring, with the political will of this mayor, during COVID, created the first housing conversion from hotel to housing. So with that, we here at Father Bill's in MainSpring really appreciate Mayor Sullivan's commitment, because he's about solutions. He's not about blaming people, and he's about bringing us all together for these solutions here. So with that, and we've got hopefully a future project coming over at Roadway 2, Secretary. We here are so blessed and lucky because, as the mayor has said many times, he is the mayor of this great city, and he is the mayor for people maybe that are not housed today. Thank you, Mayor Sullivan. Love you for you to come up. We really appreciate it.
So first of all, I want to welcome each and every one of you to the City of Champions, Brockton, Massachusetts. For those that are in this room that work each and every day to better Brockton and beyond, I want to give you a round of applause. I of course want to thank the Healy Driscoll administration, Governor, Lieutenant Governor have been wonderful, wonderful partners. And when I first became mayor, Charlie Baker and Karen Fleet were wonderful partners as well. And Secretary Augustus, who you'll be hearing from, even though he's a guy from Worcester, he just as easily could have been born City of Brockton, he gets it, right? And so when I was driving here today, I never write speeches, so I just talk from the heart, but when I was driving here today, I was thinking back to when John and I discussed this project, and he was 100% correct. This was federal land abutting the VA. Originally, this property was part of the VA, and then it became the Armed Services Recruiting Office, and then it sat idle for a long time, so the feds wanted to dispose of it. And when I first heard about that, I wanted to look at it as the mayor of the city of Brockton. Potentially, we could use this as an extension of a DPW. But then, after talking to John and his vision of a campus setting with wraparound services, where healthcare in Brockton Neighborhood Health Center are going to be here on site. And I want to thank Sue Joss and Dr. Maria Celli, and educational opportunities. And then the vets that are facing homelessness are going to literally be able to just cut through the back and go to the VA hospital for their medical care. It was a game changer. And so the state delegation, we're very fortunate to have 3 state reps and Senator Brady, and then Congressman Lynch, Stevie Lynch from South Boston, who loves the City of Champions. I asked him if he would support this, and of course Ed Markey and Elizabeth Warren, and everybody was on board. Everybody was on board. And then we needed to figure out how the dollars were going to come in. And I reached out to my dear friend, who you'll hear from, one of the county commissioners, Greg Hanley, and the county was giving some ARPA money, and the city of Brockton got some direct allotments of ARPA money, and then we tried to figure out the homeless population in the city of Brockton right now are Brocktonians, and I'm their mayor. But they don't all originate from the city of Brockton, so let's do a proportional share. Let's look at those that came to Brockton for help and those that grew up in the city of Brockton need help. And again, it was about a 65% from the city of Brockton and about 35% from outside. And so we worked to come up with some additional money to meet that. But this is why I'm here today. I'm just a guy that grew up in Brockton. I was raised Catholic. I went to BC, and the Jesuits taught us the mantra of a man for others. And so when I ran for office, my mom and dad said, Bobby, always do the right thing. So my view is doing the right thing is what I see in here today. If you are facing homelessness, you don't choose. It's maybe a fraction of people that choose to be on the streets. But there is a catalyst for why people are on the streets. Drugs and alcohol. And you just heard that from my dear friend, Dr. Troy Clarkson, who has arisen from the ashes to lead the City of Champions for financial component. But I also want to say that folks were taking advantage of the predatory lending, and so they lost their homes to the foreclosure epidemic and lost jobs. You just heard that. And that was very brave for Kim to share her her personal story. But there's so many reasons why people are on the street. And so as an elected official, but more importantly as a human being, we have a duty. We have a duty to help our fellow man. And so when I became mayor, one of the first things I wanted to do was I wanted to go out and talk to those. And I did it with John, and I did it with John and the team. We did the point of time count, which is coming up again. And it's a cold night when you do it in January. You go around at night and you count, literally count those that are homeless. And it was eye-opening. It was truly eye-opening how people work to survive in the elements. But in America and in the world, you shouldn't have to do that. We were raised with the idea of a roof over your head, right? That's a common principle. Food in your tummy and a roof over your head and hopefully a bed you can sleep in. And so this day is going to be a game changer, not just for the city of Brockton, but beyond. Because the people that are going to have, this is their home. We're going to be welcomed into their home because of the leadership and dedication of Father Bill's MainSpring. Now myself and my dear friend, Mayor Cope from Quincy over the summer were both awarded the Brian Kelly Award. And from my perspective, I'm not saying that to toot my own horn, but I find it very ironic that the city of presidents and the city of champions were honored to help the homeless population of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts because we were raised in the principles of helping others. So today I just want to say thank you. Those that have given their financial means, the Conway family, so many other people that have written checks out, but also those that have given back to time. And just the other day, we had people drop off new coats and hats and socks to my office. And I drove up to the corporate office on Belmont Street and I personally delivered them. And they've already been distributed to people that need it. But I'll leave you on this note. I try to get home. I have 3 children and my wife. We have 3 children, Tommy, Grace, and Will, right? 17, 16, and 12. And I try to get home as much as I can because my most important job is a dad. Right? It's not the mayor. Right? Mayor is a job and it's an honor and it's a privilege to serve in the city of champions. But my kids don't care that I'm the mayor. They want me to be a good dad, right? And so when we have dinner together, and it's not every night unfortunately because of meetings, but when we do, we always go around, right? And we start with my youngest Will, and then we go to Gracie, then we go to Tommy, and then we go to Maria, my wife. When I got to Maria, I said, honey, how was your day today? She said, Bob, it was awesome. It was awesome. I said, really? You know, she's a PA, physician assistant. She's head of the Director of Health Services at Stonehill College. And I said, why was it awesome? And she said, because every year on this day, me and a bunch of my colleagues, we go to Father Bill's and serve lunch. I never knew that. She never told me that. And I only say that because there's so many other people that do that each and every day to help fellow man. So today I thank everybody that have donated money, but the fight continues. Because not everybody on the streets of the city of Brockton or the Commonwealth of Massachusetts or the country is going to be able to utilize this fine institution. So when John and Passing just mentioned Roadway 2, I'm 100% on board on that. And I hope everybody else is. I thank you, and truly thank you. And again, today will go down as a historic day in the city of Brockton, Massachusetts. God bless each and every one of you. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
You know, in a sense of this project here, we at Father Bill's and MainSpring believe in housing. And we're excited that we've got in the pipeline almost 150 units of new housing that we are looking to develop over the next couple of years. It's a huge project that we would love to bring, but we'll need all of your help in this room, all the people in the community, to keep helping people like Kim get home. Well, I know, because I've had the honor of working with Secretary Augustus the last few years, that I know his commitment is to housing also. Yes, this project, one of the buildings is a housing resource center. It's converting the way we shelter people to not manage homelessness, but end it. But at the same time, it's committed to 32 new units of permanent housing. I have the honor with the secretary that he co-chairs with Lieutenant Governor to be on the Housing Commission, where the governor will be releasing a housing plan for all income levels in this state. And I've had the honor to see Secretary's commitment on housing for our poorest neighbors. You know, the state stepped up. This was a $20 million project, and they gave close to $12 million. And it's an honor to know that, you know, things aren't easy right now with the family homeless crisis, the individual homeless crisis. But days like today, and the commitment that this administration, this governor, lieutenant governor, and the secretary have given to housing is really how we're going to end homelessness. So with that, thank you, Secretary, for your support, your commitment, and your friendship.
Thank you, John. I want to thank you, not only for being a leader, but being a friend, being an ally. When you're in this work, you need a lot of allies. A lot of times you're going up against the crowd sometimes. Say, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. Think about this, understand this. That's not true. Let me explain what is reality. So there's a lot of education that takes place when you work in the field of housing, whether it be on homeless issues, building more housing, whether it be implementing the MBTA Communities Act. And let me just say, the conversations about the MBTA Communities Act are directly related to ending homelessness. They are not just There's no more fundamental way to describe how we're going to end homelessness other than to say we need to build more homes. We need to build more homes at every income level. So the folks who are just one paycheck away from not making their rent, or making their mortgage payment, and now thinking about living in their car or ending up in shelter or on the street. And who's the biggest, what part of our population is the biggest growth of individual homelessness? Senior citizens. Senior citizens. So think about your mom or your dad or your grandmother or grandfather in their 70s or 80s, worked their whole life, did everything they were supposed to do, living on a fixed income, and then the rent goes up double. Electricity is up. All the other bills, grocery bills are up, and your fixed income isn't growing at the same pace all those bills are growing at. Now your housing is insecure. Now you're behind on rent, you're behind on utilities, the stress, the fear. And so I'm so impressed with Kim sharing her story, but by the grace of God goes any one of us or somebody that we love. And so we have to stop thinking about the homeless problem as the worthy and the unworthy, people who are deserving of help and not deserving of help, and we have to see ourselves or somebody we love in those faces and in those stories. And I am so proud to work for Governor Healy and Lieutenant Governor Driscoll, as John said, who are all in on housing. We created, with the help of the legislature, and I want to thank the Brockton delegation, they're great leaders on housing, passed the largest housing bill in the history of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, $5.3 billion of new resources to create more housing, preserve the housing that we currently have, to rehabilitate our public housing infrastructure, which is a critical part of our safety net system, 43,000 units of state-owned housing. We have to keep that online. We have to keep it updated. We have to decarbonize it, and this bill does that. And 49 policy changes that are being implemented. As of Monday, ADUs as of right, adding on that in-law apartment in your house. 8,000 to 10,000 units will be created in the next 5 years with that one policy change alone. That's going to be more affordable housing, more housing that's built by property owners, not with state resources. That's going to help us build the housing and keep up with the demand that we see out there. And as John said, I'm very proud of the fact that the Commonwealth was able to contribute $12.5 billion to support this project. And with the resources that the legislature gave and the governor signed, we want to support more projects like this. But make no mistake, this project is really an example of best practice. This is the gold standard. This is exactly what we should be doing in every corner of the Commonwealth. It's not only the shelter beds, but it is the permanent supportive housing. It is all of the supportive services and the pathways to get back to where they want to be and where we all want them to be, permanently home. And so I really appreciate John's leadership in working with all of you. And I'd be remiss by sitting there listening to the mayor. I was like, that's leadership. That's leadership, because it's very easy to say, hey, I'm going to curse the darkness. We have plenty of people in this day and age who want to curse the darkness. We need some folks who are going to light some candles. We need to all be the person who lights the candle in the midst of darkness. And I appreciate the mayor's leadership, the city of Brockton's leadership, the delegation's leadership, and all of the folks who support Father Bill's and MainSpring. The donors, the board members, the staff, every one of you are lighting candles. And God knows that's what our country, our state, and our communities need now more than ever. Thanks very much.
So you heard the secretary, $5 billion, and we've got a pipeline right here for just a couple of million. We'll get going together. You know, we're really excited that we were able to partner with the federal government, and so, you know, I want to just thank the United States GSA land. I know Sarah Mazzarella, Giselle, Luanda, and David are here. From Health and Human Services, Taylor, and Public Affairs Specialist Tamika is here. You know, everybody says working with the federal government can be hard, but just think about when all the calls and through the last 3 or 4 years working with these federal agencies, because they were as excited as we were about the possibility of this use of helping people and saving lives. So I want to thank our federal employees. Also want to, of course, thank our elected officials. I know Senator Mike Brady was in really on. Thank you, Senator Brady, for your continued support. I know State Rep Michelle Dubois is here. I know Brockton City Councilor Jean Bradley Darencourt is here. Rita Mendez, our state rep, is here. We are blessed. I know Tom O'Brien is in here from the Plymouth County Treasurer, and I know Commissioner Greg's here, and he'll get up in a few minutes. We can't do this, you know, without all of our partners. And this delegation, as I said, was in on day one to help us get this land. You know, we're blessed also with the partnerships. As if you come to the Father Bill's and MainSpring events for this with the ribbon cuttings through the years, you keep seeing this tall guy with great hair, Roger Herzog from CDAC. CDAC has been able to, through the years, really be that quasi-public, private group that when you have an idea about housing, and everybody's not sure that the funding is lined up yet, CDAC steps up and believes and gives you that resource to acquire the land, to pay the pre-development costs. They believe in you when everybody else may not be ready to, as a lender and as a funder. Well, I've had the pleasure of working with Roger from CDAC, the executive director there, for many years. Because there are some times in this world where the public lenders, the quasi-public groups have not always been comfortable lending to projects that serve our poorest neighbors. But Roger has always been there. You know, there's a national money that came out, the National Housing Trust Fund, years ago came out. First money that was ever going to go into supportive housing. And Kate Racer and Roger Herzog got on it so early and pulled a bunch of us in the room together. And when people that are in our world say, oh, Massachusetts has a supportive housing round, we did it in his office and said, this is how Massachusetts should do it. And Kate Racer and Roger took it to the powers to be. So with that, Roger and CDAC are major supporters of all of our projects. And we know that Roger is going to be retiring this year. So with that, I'd like to call Roger Herzog up to thank him for his support, and say a few words. But with that, I have a gift for him. So Roger came in really early and believed in us buying the roadway and converting it from hotel to housing. So we know you're gonna maybe not be able to come up here many years you're retiring, but we got a hard hat signed by the tenants at Roadway that live here. And we just have a plaque here that has the pictures of all the different ribbon cuttings with us through the years, in gratitude for a career dedicated to building more equitable communities. Roger Herzog.
Well, thank you very much, John. It is an honor to be here. It's an honor to be here with Mayor Sullivan and Secretary Augustus and all of the public and private partners for this exciting event. And hearing the Secretary and the Mayor speak, you can see we've got the vision for getting this kind of work done. And we need that vision. And as the Secretary said, he's out there fighting on a regular basis with communities that are resisting any kind of growth in housing, let alone housing the most vulnerable folks in our communities. So, thank you for that leadership. I want to add to the congratulations to Father Bills, John, to you, to your amazing team, your board, your staff. You have such a talented development team, and you bring us excellence. These are really complicated projects, bringing different funding systems together, funding from the health and human services world, the supports in supportive housing, and funding from the housing world, the capital and the operating dollars for this housing, and knitting it all together. It takes expertise and tenacity and a lot of patience. And Father Bills has demonstrated that it's up for the challenge and ready to meet this moment of need here in the Commonwealth. John, Father Bills is such an innovator in meeting the needs of the homeless for the entire region and especially here in the city of Brockton. You mentioned it, whether it's the groundbreaking hotel conversion project across the street at Roadway Apartments, or this thoughtful program design using your housing resource center model. You've now completed 2 of these in Quincy and here in Brockton. I fully expect we're going to see some more in the future. And we're thrilled to already be supporting you with the Roadway 2 project, which is exciting and very intelligent way to build more housing on an existing site. You know, you hear about different levels of government cooperating. We're going to need to remember that and hope that we can continue this level of cooperation, because we clearly have it here. Federal land and a lot of federal dollars in the form of ARPA, the American Rescue Plan Act. Remember, these are dollars that came out during the pandemic that have been flowing. Our legislature allocated a very significant amount of these dollars to affordable housing and specifically to supportive housing. And $8 million of those ARPA dollars at the state level are being invested right here in Brockton. But using this surplus federal land that we've heard about, CDAC's role here, we play multiple roles. As John said, we're early stage funders, helping with some of these early costs, and we work very closely with the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities as a partner on managing some of these funds, the ARPA funds and the Housing Innovation Funds. Secretary Augustus, CDAC is very fortunate to have the opportunity to work with you, your great team, including the housing development team led by Kate Racer, and to enjoy the leadership on the CDAC board by Deputy Secretary Jennifer Maddox. I get to stand up here, but the magic for CDAC is performed by Will Morgan, our Senior Project Manager for Supportive Housing. Where are you, Will? Congratulations. Thank you. John, I really appreciate your kind words about my upcoming retirement, but you can count on CDAC being there every step of the way for your coming projects. Keep up the great work. Thank you very much. See the map.
Well, as you can see here, it takes a great development team to do projects like this. And so, I mean, we are completely blessed with the team that we've been able to put together. You can see right here, NeighborWorks Housing Solutions, Emily Rothschild's the greatest housing consultant in the state. As you see, we have a beautiful building. So Westwork is here, our architects. What a tremendous team. And I see some people coming out of retirement, Bruce and Bill. Great to see you guys. Curtis Construction, as you can see, it takes a lot these days. You've got a lot of challenges and product things, but John Curtis, thank you, Curtis Construction. And then we've got Mike Joyce Consulting. Engineering, it's not easy building in this city, of course, in all these areas of water and ledge and everything else, but thank you, Mike, for your support. And as you ever do any housing project, you need a tremendous lawyer and lawyer team. And I know Kim Epstein is here from Hackett Feinberg. Thank you, Kim. You know, Massachusetts Housing and Shelter Alliance. Father Bill's in MainSpring has been a part of this organization, this coalition that advocates for people that are fighting outside to end homelessness. Mahasa is a statewide organization where the shelter and housing providers can turn to for advice and support and advocacy. And we're excited that recently they've brought Joyce Tavon on to be the executive director. Joyce has got a history here in Brockton as she worked for Father Bill's in MainSpring and helped us get a lot of those awards from HUD to build a lot of these projects that are here now. Mahasa came in early with dollars to help us with the pre-development. And then we started to have some extra costs. So we went back to Mahasa and Joyce, and she came back in with a second gift too. So with that, I just asked Joyce Tavon from Mahasa to come up. We really appreciate your support, and welcome back home.
I do have a soft spot for the City of Champions. Thank you, John. So as you've heard, our mission at Mahasa is the ending of homelessness, particularly by advancing solutions like housing. And one of the areas we focus on are people maybe who've experienced long-term homelessness, been in shelters or on the streets, and they need housing plus supports. And that's where Home and Healthy for Good comes in, flexible dollars coming through the state that we can invest in supportive housing. And this project can start as capital, small amounts, and continue year in, year out to fill gaps in services and operations. I'm really pleased that we can invest in this project because it's innovative and because it's in the city of Brockton. You know, at a time of rising homelessness across our country and our state, we are seeing some of the highest numbers of people out in tent encampments and on the streets in what we know of as our gateway cities in Massachusetts. And there is a lot of great stuff happening in those gateway cities, But they also face the housing shortage, the public health crisis, but they don't always have the same access to resources as Boston and surrounding communities. And unfortunately, in some of them, we have city councils that are reacting with these anti-camping bans that are really not getting us anywhere. So that is why it is so important and uplifting that we have a project like this that represents that better way forward. Solutions, resources, housing, all in one site. Father Bill's and MainSpring, you've heard it, they've been a leader in creating supportive housing, and the city of Brockton and Mayor Sullivan have been an important partner. John, I talked to many city officials and providers across the state. A good number have toured the other model in Quincy. I'm hoping they're going to get here to see the Brockton model. It has been held up to them. It is something a lot of other communities want to do. So I am so glad that Mahassa could support this model in Brockton. I hope we can support others by Father Bill's and MainSpring and by other organizations all across our state. Thank you.
I'd also like to call out on the funding side, two of our great lenders that are here. Of course, Harbor One, our local lender here, is a part of the project. And then PCI, Property Casualty Initiative, the team's right here. Thank you for your continued support. When we first started to look at this land, and I know the city was, well, the Plymouth County officials were looking at this land too. And so we came together and said, what can we do together so we don't compete? And so, bringing in the Plymouth County officials was great because, as the mayor said, we were able to kind of coordinate our application so we didn't have competing interests here. And so, the county commissioners came together and decided not just to be a part of our application, to support our movement here, but then also came back and with the coordination with the city, invested the ARPA money that they received. Greg Hanley's here. I've known Greg for a long time, even from the Quincy days. Thank you, Greg, and all the commissioners and the treasurer for your hard work and believing in this project and being part of it. With that, I'd like to welcome Commissioner Hanley here today.
Still good morning, or is it good afternoon? Thank you, John, for leaving the best for last. I really appreciate the opportunity. I have to tell you, my personal journey with Father Bill's began back in 1996. I was a member of the Quincy Community Action Board of Directors, and the following election cycle, I ran for Ward 1 City Councilor, and we created the Housing Committee under then Council President Paul Harrell. And so that's when I have to admit, I met Father Bill McCarthy. And I can just tell you right now, dealing with him and having Father Bill's in your ward, I took the Lord's name in vain many times. However, it was hard to say no to Father Bill. So as John had mentioned, the county did have an opportunity. He had first right of refusal on this property from the federal government. So we approached the mayor about it. He says, geez, Fred, we'd like to do the same kind of concept. And I said, well, who are you dealing with? He goes, oh, John Yazwinski. And I said right there and then that was the right idea for the county to give this up, because when I first met you was when Father Bill approached me when Joe Finn was in charge and you were the young guy. And then the minute he came here, I knew, Mr. Mayor, that it would take a partnership to do this. And to you, Mrs. Conway and Mrs. Coleman, it's one thing to do the Field of Dreams. Build it and they will come. It's your involvement sustaining the activity of this group and enabling them and putting out the public-private partnership piece of it. Bring back the old food tasting thing, because I'm no stranger to the knife and fork, and I can always write that off on my campaign. But I want to thank you for everyone's leadership, both public and private. And I'll just leave you with this, Mr. Secretary. Legislation of the generation was passed on August 8th. We affordable housing in Wandale. And everything you spoke of earlier really emphasizes this administration's real heartfelt effort of taking public funds and combining with private nonprofits to solve the problem of homelessness. And until you live it, you can walk the walk and talk the talk or sing the talk, I don't know what Troy, but it's humbling and proud for me to be here. And I want to thank each and every one of you for being a part of this effort. With what's going on in this country and what's going on in the world, this is the most important thing about public service. So thank you for allowing me to play this small part of things. I'm looking forward to working with you in the other part of the county. The other Chi-Town with me today is Charlie Bletzer, and I'm hoping to replicate our involvement, and you'll get my personal commitment to working on that Plymouth project. So thank you very much.
So people know that we've been able to now bring on a second housing resource center. And in Plymouth, Father Bill's and MainSpring, with another grassroots organization called the Plymouth Task Force, are still sheltering individuals in the churches every night. And so what our hope is, and what our agenda is to bring this model of a new facility so people aren't sleeping outside in Plymouth and people aren't sleeping in basements of churches, even though we absolutely thank all of those interfaith groups there. So I know we're excited, and really, in a sense of it, is Father Bill's and MainSpring had to raise over $5 million privately here to make this project happen after the public money was in. And it was a daunting task, but we all came together with this. But we had the opportunity to approach the Richard and Susan Smith Family Foundation, and we had several meetings with them. Got to actually go into a meeting and meet with the family around a round table and take questions for like an hour. Felt like it was an intimate process where we got to talk to the family about our dream, what we had just done in Quincy and what we wanted to do in Brockton. And so with that, we are just so blessed that the Richard and Susan Smith Family Foundation, led by Lynn Godwin, decided and believed to give us a major gift for this. And that's why the housing resource side of this building is called the Smith Family Housing Resource Center. So with that, thank you to the Smith family for believing in this model, trusting us, and supporting it. So with that, I'd like to have Lynn come up and say a few words.
Greetings, everyone. Thank you, John. And I'm delighted to be here on behalf of two generations of the Smith family, the trustees of the foundation and the staff, and to thank you for your leadership, John. And we have had a relationship with Father Bill's since 2007, not as long as some of you here, but a long time still. And during that time, what we've seen is just how you raise the bar on yourself. You do more. You continue to develop long-term housing solutions. And that not everybody does that, and you don't rest on your laurels, and we really admire that. And so it was an easy choice for our trustees. They were so impressed to hear about the vision and the innovative model that you all are supporting. We know that you are investing upstream, that you are looking for long-term housing solutions, and this is something that we look forward to seeing. As you spoke about the best practices, we know this is a big part of optimizing resources for helping those in need. So we're delighted to be a part of the project. We know that we're doing the easy part, which is cutting a check, and a lot of the hard work that you've heard about here today over not just years, but decades, has been done by others. And so we're just happy to be a little bit of the wind in your sails. And thank you for giving us the opportunity to make a difference in Brockton. And one of the other things that we were so impressed with Father Bill's is that you treat everyone with dignity and respect, and that you come with hope and solutions. And we were delighted too to see that there will be healthcare and behavioral health in here with our partners also partners of ours, the Brockton Neighborhood Health Center. So we know that this is really going to make a difference in Brockton, and so thank you for giving us the opportunity to do that. So Godspeed.
Thank you, Lynn. You know, Father Bill McCarthy took me a long time ago into Boston to meet with the Yockey family. And the Yockey Foundation has been supporting Father Bill's in MainSpring for a long time. And for many years, when we had this idea, we had this model, we kept talking to Maureen at the time, President and CEO at the time, about we've got this idea, we'd love, you know, would you be there for us? And so when we opened up Quincy, the idea of it, acquired the land, it became a Yockey Housing Resource Center. And so many towns, so many communities of people have said, have come to Quincy to see the model that we're doing. And so fairly recently, we had a gap still here in our campaign. And we met with the Yockey Foundation again and said, would you help us kind of get there towards the end and help us with the housing side of the building? And they did. They stepped up again and became a lead gift for us. So we really appreciated continued Yockey Foundation support of our mission. And I'd like to ask the new CEO of Yockey Foundation, Alicia Verity, to say a few words.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for that very kind introduction. And on behalf of the Yockey Foundation trustees, my colleagues, Masharia and Karen here with me today, we are delighted to be here. And we want to thank the many public officials, supporters, advocates, guests, Kim. We are so impressed with the momentum that everyone contributed to bring this project to fruition. John, your leadership and vision has been touched upon by many of us. Your commitment to ending homelessness, not just managing it, is really inspiring. The Housing Resource Center and the residences exemplify how innovation and collaboration, an approach that enables better, more sustainable outcomes for countless individuals here in Brockton. Our trustees are certain that this project would have resonated with Tom and Jean Yockey, who were quiet and discreet philanthropists during their lifetime, never seeking the spotlight, yet deeply committed to helping the most vulnerable individuals and families access the resources that everybody has a right to: food, health care, and a safe and dignified place to call home. And with that in mind, I'll close by saying how poignant it is that today happens to be what would have been Jean Yockey's 116th birthday. She would have been tremendously. And we feel confident that both she and Tom would have been deeply humbled that you've chosen to name this beautiful resident housing beautiful people, Yockey Hall. So congratulations to the entire team, and thank you for enabling the Yockey Foundation to play a small part in this amazing project. Thank you.
You know, when I came to MainSpring around 2006, we merged in 2007, Father Bill's in MainSpring. Inside MainSpring at the time, there was this little room that had one kind of medical bed. And it was a woman, the nurse called Martha there, who was taking care and doing God's work, and probably, like I said, you know, next to the housing case manager's office, trying to do triage, trying to give care to our most vulnerable people. And for years working with Sue Josh for the Brockton Neighborhood Health Center, we were partnering and writing grants together just to fund that position, the nurse so Martha could work with our most vulnerable brothers and sisters staying outside or living at the shelter. Today you'll get a tour of a full-fledged, licensed healthcare clinic that won't just be medical, but it'll help people with behavioral health. We will connect people together. People from this community know about the commitment and tenacity that Sue Josh has to take care of our most vulnerable people in the Brockton community. She has been a true leader and a mentor for many of us in this community, in this region. And a few of us know that she'll be retiring soon also. But to know that the succession plan we've known for a while, because we've been able to work with such a great COO over there, Maria Selk. We're excited about that torch being passed. We're excited about the whole organization of Brockton Neighborhood Health having a licensed clinic here. So with that, we'd like to call both Sue and Maria up to say a few words. And thanks.
Thanks, and this ribbon cutting, I think, is such an apt end to my official career as CEO, as I'll be handing over to Maria at the end of next month. But John's comment about the beginning of the little one exam room clinic that we had at MainSpring, which we opened 23 years ago, was, I think, the beginning of our shared vision that as critical as housing is, it's even more impactful if we can add healthcare into the same space. And even though MainSpring is only a block from the main side of the health center, we were having conversations that the guests there just weren't getting to the health center consistently. So Martha Iano, our nurse practitioner, who's still part-time at MainSpring, and Laura Davis, the other nurse practitioner, will be thrilled with the new space. And I was thinking about what this means to include healthcare as part of this housing project here, and thinking through the dark times that we went through in Brockton in healthcare, starting with the pandemic, the closure of Brockton Hospital, the bankruptcy of Good Samaritan, other primary care practices closing, and really seeing a renaissance in Brockton coming with the leadership of your mayor, Bob Sullivan, to now have Brockton Hospital open and flourishing, Good Samaritan under new leadership, the health center being invited to provide mental health services in the high school, and this project, which is a part of the healthcare ecosystem as well as the housing ecosystem. So we're so thrilled to be part of it, and especially thrilled to have the room in the new space to add behavioral health services to a population that we think will be so benefit. So now let Maria say a few words.
Thank you, Sue. You know, when you've been a CEO for 31 years, you don't use notes. You know, when you're incoming, you do. So, I'm so honored and privileged to be here. Thank you, John, for asking me and Sue to speak, and together as a visual representation to the community of the partnership and of the passing of the torch. Good morning to the distinguished guests, public servants. Thank you for your leadership, friends, colleagues, residents, and our partners in all of this work. Again, my name is Maria Celli, and I am the current Deputy CEO, was the COO, but I'm current Deputy CEO, and incoming CEO of Brockton Neighborhood Health Center. As I said, I feel so honored and privileged to be here today as we celebrate the ribbon cutting for the Smith Family Housing Resource Center and Yawkey Hall, which is, a long name, but I think the most important thing is it's magical. What's going to happen here? This is a very exciting moment for all of us. I do want to take a moment to acknowledge and thank and celebrate the BNHC staff who work passionately to serve those in this community who are unhoused or struggling with housing insecurity. Some of whom especially want to acknowledge Allison Pinkover and Kelly Salata for the leaders of the team. And our Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Joe Langer, who's also here, who supervises the team. I want to recognize and celebrate this staff and particularly name also our legendary nurse practitioner, Martha Ayano, who John Nuswinski just mentioned. She's been serving this community, as was mentioned, for over 20 years, and she's currently, I believe right now, seeing patients at the other clinic. Honestly, the words that came to mind thinking about Martha is that she's really compassion incarnate. And I strongly encourage, if you have not met her, to try to meet her and the rest of the team as their work inspires awe. I also want to deeply thank John Yaswinski, John Lanham, or as I affectionately like to call them, the Johns, Kim Kroger, Josh Brown, Dave Capozzi for all of your partnership with our BNHC team. I'm so grateful and inspired by your tireless commitment to this vision and the larger mission of ending homelessness in Brockton and beyond. As you heard, the partnership between BNHC and Father Bill's and MainSpring began almost 25 years ago when two incredible leaders, Sue Joss and John Yaswinski, joined forces to respond to a clear need that was visible with that tiny little effort being made by Martha Ayano. The compassion was limitless, but clearly the space inhibited our ability to provide full access, full services to what we call whole person health. We are so thrilled that this new expanded space, which I encourage you to visit, will allow us to expand our services to include behavioral health, health insurance, enrollment, substance use services, recovery coaching, and much more. We remain limitless with regard to our compassion, but are no longer limited with regard to space constraints. BNHC knows very well that medical care includes way more than what happens within an exam room. It's about the whole person. We know that basic health care is about access to shelter and housing, food, education, employment opportunities, transportation, and more. We believe that every individual deserves this kind of access to care, and we are thrilled to see these values brought to life in this incredible center. I hope that as we celebrate this moment, in particular in this week that started with the celebration of Martin Luther King Jr., we think about his quote, "Of all the forms of inequality, injustice in health is the most shocking and the most inhuman." In our humble way, BNHC looks forward to promoting health for the members of our community experiencing homelessness and centering our mission and values around health as a human right. I also hope, as others have said, that as we celebrate this moment, it's an opportunity for all of us to recognize and celebrate that this site serves as a symbol and a reminder of what we can accomplish when we work together as partners, to make visions become realities in the compassionate service of the well-being of every individual in our community. Thank you.
So as you can see, as we're wrapping up, and I know we're having a long program here, but this is so big for our mission. And to do this within a matter of years of just doing the Quincy project, as people have said, we at Father Bill's in MainSpring have a tremendous team. Every night that's taking care of families and individuals experiencing homelessness or that are in our 800 plus units of housing. So with that, I want to just say to all of our key staff, everybody, every day, working side by side with the people, if it's working with people that are sleeping outside, to the front door of the shelters, to our leadership team, that are continuing every day to run the operations over at Father Bill's in MainSpring. We have a great team. I want to highlight Liz Rogers, our Chief Strategy Officer, for all the funding that we get. Jill Woodmore, our CFO, John Lanham, our Chief Operating Officer. and Katie Riley, who helped raise the $5 million prior to this year. Thank you to all of our team members. You know, as we wrap up, a few years ago, when we started to see a lot of families, you know, years ago even, when the earthquake happened in Haiti, and we saw a lot of families come to Massachusetts from a Haiti earthquake. And a lot of those families, because the connection of the Haitian community here, came to Brockton. And, you know, there was a leader in the community here, Bishop Branch. We came together and we worked with those families that were homeless at the time from the earthquake. And we made sure together as a community they all got housing. And so as we face tough times now, with so many families and individuals in need, we are tremendously just in awe of the Bishop's commitment to every person in our community. And so when we were thinking about civil rights, equal rights, I was just so excited to have the Bishop here today for a blessing. So with that, Tony, please come up and join us.
Thank you for that, John. It was truly a blessing. And for those of you who have heard me speak in the past or give prayers, I like for folks to participate. But in particular today, there is an expectation in this community for you all to repeat back to me. Y'all ready? Yeah. Repeat after me. The homeless are not criminals. I'm sorry, the homeless people did not hear you. The homeless are not criminals. Now, if you believe that, repeat after me. When I get there, hold on. When you're looking for hope, who is our partner? Father Bills and MainSpring. When you're looking to make sure that the homeless are fed, who are our partners? Father Bills and MainSpring. When you look at an organization that is looking to end homelessness, who is our partner? Father Bills and MainSpring. Give Father Bills and MainSpring a hand clap. We are united today in this fight to end homelessness. Those that are committed to ending homelessness in the city of Brockton and in this region are in this room right now. As a homeless teen, I recognize and realize the importance of shelter. It's not only going from a car to a building, but as young folks that were like me that lived in hallways. It was young people that were like me that would go to McDonald's and eat out of the trash because I needed to be fed. So this is personal to me, the opening of this facility. So I want you all to know that there is awesome work that is being done by this Father Bills organization, and that the community loves you. The community loves you. Give that a hand clap. Now, I'm a Pentecostal. I know there's different faiths in here. I promise I won't be long. Could you bow your head in prayer, please? Father God, they are in the streets. They're in the buses, they're in the subways. Lord, they're even in the classrooms, they're in the doorways, the backways, they're even under the bridges of the city of Brockton. But you saw fit for Father Bills and MainSpring to open up this beautiful place, and we thank you. Lord, we give our eyes to the homeless today because they are the least among us. The children without security and protection of home. We thank you for Father Bills today, for giving us the gift that is worth more than $1 million. Lord God, we remember today the Smith family in the Yawkey Hall, and more than just 4 walls and a roof. This will be a place for the cold times. This will be a place for a difficult world. This will be a place that will ready them for jobs, and we thank you for that. Lord, we give you the praise and the honor today because you, through the Holy Spirit, have seen fit that we fight homelessness. And Lord, we know that we will complete your will. For those that believe in this work, The people of God said, amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Tony. Again, thank you so much for being here today, for coming together and believing in solutions and a compassionate approach. Thank you to all of our supporters and donors and politicians for your political will. God bless, have a great day. Please take a tour. For all the speakers, I would ask just quickly, I know people may have to run, we're gonna go right out to the front of the building and do a quick ribbon cutting, right? And then we'll start with tours. Thank you and God bless.
We're gonna cut, all right? Nice smiles on 3. 1, 2, 3. Cut.
Yeah!